the trade-offs. My co-director Adam from ECA has already mentioned those 6 entry points in his remarks, so I'm not going to repeat them, but I would like to add that the report also identifies 4 levers: governance, economy and finance, individual and collective actions, and science and technology that are powerful agents of change to deploy through the entry points. Transformative change can occur when the levers are deployed together in an integrated manner that responds to the context-specific conditions. Thinking of implementation in this way brings trade-offs and tensions, as well as possible synergies into focus. For example, there can be trade-offs between scaling up food production and ensuring the protection of lands rich in biodiversity. There can be trade-offs between ensuring access to energy and reducing CO2 emissions. But these trade-offs cannot be allowed to stand in the way of reaching overarching objectives such as eradicating poverty, ending hunger, leaving no one behind, and ensuring intergenerational equity. And this is where emerging technologies and innovation that underpin the 4th Industrial Revolution can be key in resolving these trade-offs and generating synergies among goals and targets so that advances in human well-being are delinked from pressures on our natural and social systems. Digital technologies, robotics, artificial intelligence, and automation, biotechnology and nanotechnology all have broad impacts on the economy, society, and environment, and hence on the SDGs. These new technologies hold great promise for the SDGs. To benefit, we must address gaps in human capacities and physical infrastructure. Distinguished colleagues, science, technology, and innovation for the SDGs have been the subject of discussion at successive sessions of the Global Multi-Stakeholder STI Forum, a key part of the technology facilitation mechanism held at the United Nations in New York ever since 2016. Indeed, through a global collaboration across the UN system and with outside experts, DESA puts together a living compendium of policy-relevant lessons and advances, a source of use to all. Over successive meetings, we have discussed challenges and opportunities for collaboration, and we have brought to the fore many encouraging examples from Africa. Let me give 3 examples to demonstrate that technology pathways in developing countries can unfold differently from the historical experience of developed countries. First, Kenya, for instance, has one of the most innovative mobile money markets, in which service providers moved over $20 billion through over 700 million transactions last year. Mobile money agents, integration with banks, microfinance institutions, companies, mega stores, and other setups have built synergy systems on top of the mobile money. Second, there are also highly encouraging signs of bioinformatics and other high-tech areas in Africa. For example, I understand that the Pan-African Bioinformatics Network comprises more than 32 research groups in 15 African countries. Back in 2014, researchers in Kenya and South Africa led the sequencing and genome assembly of the tsetse fly. These and many others represent a considerable and rapidly expanding knowledge base. Third, the frugal science movement and their open, cheap, and easy-to-use lab tools have been instrumental in such quick progress in African countries. The development of low-cost, open-source laboratory hardware has been particularly successful. The STI Forum provides an opportunity for peer learning and networking, exploring opportunities for replication and scaling up, as well as for forging consensus in global multi-stakeholder setting. African innovators have consistently won several prominent spots on the basis of a global competition to present their innovations at the forum each year. We look forward to welcoming them again at this year's forum to be held on 12-13 May 2020 in New York. In fact, I encourage all of you to consider participating in the forum, whether through applying for the innovation competition, delegating a minister to attend, or showcasing your work in a side event. Let me conclude my first part of remarks here, and I hope that you will give me an opportunity to come back with follow-up ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we give a warm... Thank you. I'm sure we will find opportunities. Just for people information, we have combined the first two panels into one. So we will focus more broadly on emerging technologies, science and technology, and creating the enabling environment. And we also want to give an opportunity for Ms. Odette Bahati, who was the second of the 10 innovators who were going to do a small pitch session. I would just want to ask Ms. Bahati, if she's here, to make her way to the front, and we'll give an opportunity to present after the next speaker, who I would want to invite now to make introductory comments to Prof. Domingos de Silva Neto, who was part of the first panel. So you can both reflect on both panels in terms of your introductory remarks. Prof.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity, and let me to introduce into how Angola is implementing STI policy, looking at the National Plan for Development, and also at the agendas 2030 and 2063. First of all, I need to stress that policy documents in Angola were approved in 2011, but the first stage of implementation started in 2013. We implemented for first 5 years, and by the end of this period, we carried out an evaluation. It was not so very good because the overall mark was acceptable because mainly of financial constraints. But when we started the implementation, the main constraint was human resource. But by the end, we understood that the financial constraints were the most important. From that, at that time was recommended the creation of a national fund, and now we are creating a national agency for STI. From 2017, we are in the second stage of implementation, and the main actions were included in the National Plan of Development. But the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology drew a very specific strategy to define how to implement the main action so we could reach the goals and the objectives From one hand, highlighted in the National Development Plan, and from other end, to reach the goals, SDG goals, and also the pillars that they are stressed in STISA, Africa Strategy for Science, Technology and Innovation. Now, I can stress some constraints that we need to overcome, and the national level, we still have the financial constraints, the lack of human resource, and we need also to overcome the bad practices to reach more efficiency. I think that we think that Africa Union, UNECA, could play a very important role to help countries to improve the implementation framework. I remember when I was doing a postdoctoral study between 1990 and 2002 at Lisbon University in Portugal, the experts from Brussels, from European Union, came twice. I was there for 4 years. They came twice to see how Portugal was implemented or was trying to reach the goals. But I think we have some missing in this way. We never received, for instance, in Angola, experts from African Union or even from UNECA to help us maybe to improve our framework. But we need, I think the situation is common for other countries also. What we are doing to reach innovation or to create innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. We, in December 2018, we firstly organized the meeting between university and the existing in the society startups and also incubators. We recommended our approach to avoid financial constraints is to recommend the university to host the already existing startup in the society. And it will help not only to avoid the financial constraint, but even the lack of human resource with good skill to put in place programs for innovation and entrepreneurship. At the moment, we have 3 universities that are working, and also we are reaching in agreement with the Netherlands to help us for better implementation of this frame. We are also mapping ideas, prototypes, and the product to improve and later to translate it to industry. I think this is enough for now.
Thank you, Prof. And apologies, there's a lot to share, but let's see if we can get through it as rapidly as possible. And next, I would want to call Dr. Sibongiseni to make her comments from the 4th Industrial Revolution Presidential Commission in South Africa.
Good morning, ladies and gents, honorable guests, Minister, all protocol observed. My name is Dr. Sibongiseni Tinzelana Tusajane, coming from South Africa. I form part of the Presidential Commission on the 4th Industrial Revolution. Our core mandate as a commission is to get together specialists from academia, private sector, small, medium enterprises, citizens, society, so that we can create a national strategy in order to find out who we are as South Africa and what are the things that we could do in order for us to create and develop a national strategy on the 4th Industrial Revolution. Myself as Bongiseni, I am a big data analytics specialist. I've got a PhD in information systems. I come from a rural area called Makhanda. It is the former Grahamstown of South Africa. I started my education starting from a Bantu education backstep. We didn't have education 5.0 at the time. So through having that background, I had to find a way to say, with that kind of background and also without the platform that enables me to be where I am, what do I do? So along the way, I met mentors along the way, so that I can understand what can I do, what value can I add in terms of our country, in terms of myself, to actually craft a path that leads to innovation and invention as a person. Without any formal and knowledge in how to do this, one of the things then that I came across, I said I wanted to be a person who creates big data analytics strategy and model so that it could solve our intrinsic problems that we have as a country. As a country, we are underpinned by a National Development Plan and an NDP 2030 in South Africa, where we find ourselves as a country. We are plagued with inequality, we are plagued with poverty, and we're plagued with a high rising number of youth unemployment. That was a starting point and a backdrop of understanding our plight and who we are as South Africa. In understanding this, we also have a constitution that is underpinned with a background that's not fully contextualized in who we are after our democracy in 1994. So then the Constitution of South Africa, it leaves open a room that how can we find a way to actually challenge the current Constitution in order for us to make sure that the Constitution is inclusive of every single race and creed that is in South Africa. Then we're also underpinned by principles of Batupili, and also we are underpinned by the Sustainable Development Goals as developed by the United Nations. So our response to the fourth industrial revolution as a country, we see it as an era. It's a point in time. It is happening right here and now, whether we believe it or not. It's where we converge the physical space, the biological space, and also the digital spaces in order for us to create services, products that actually solve our socio-economic context. So the whole thing of our national strategy of 4IR in South Africa is to actually answer the plagues and the inequality, the poverty, and the youth and unemployment that we have. So our starting point in the view and the driver of 4IR in the country is to say, as we look at ourselves as South Africa, we have a wealth of minerals. We have cobalt, we have lithium batteries, we have gold, we have all the wealth of having the expanding youth bulge. Knowing our strengths as a country and the things and the value proposition that set us apart as a country, it means then we need to leverage on the things that make us strong, which is our mining, our education, our health sector, and our safety and security sectors. So therefore, we've decided that we're going to focus on our strengths and also focus on the indigenous knowledge systems that we can build, because we've also got an advantage of human capital. We've got brilliant scientists and we've got brilliant human capital in the country that can actually invent and innovate. For example, the invention of the world's first digital laser comes from South Africa. And also the world's first big data analytics implementation and adoption process model in the world comes from South Africa, and I'm the person who actually invented it in Canada. So from the rural areas of Makhanda and of different indigenous areas, there are people who can rise above their circumstances and actually create world's first innovations and inventions that are used by the world. So my invention, after I was testing it in 5 different countries, I tested it in Finland, in Canada, in the United States of America, in the UK, and in South Africa, Google wanted to employ me as a person, right, in 2008. And I said, no, I don't want to be employed by Google. I actually want to be that person